All right, it is 5:30 on July 14th. We're going to go ahead and open this regular meeting of McGregor City Council. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Do we have any public comments that are not part of an agenda item? Okay. So for right now, we understand that the flyer went out through planning and zoning, stating that our meeting was going to start at 6:30 this evening. After that flyer went out, we chose to get together for our first agenda item, which is council discussing budget priorities for this upcoming year. And I'm going to go ahead and let our city manager take over with what he would like to present.
Carolyn, this budget year is different than any budget year I have experienced in my entire career. We don't have final numbers yet from the appraisal district that we can deal with, and we need this right there. And but we have had on our schedule every year to do a council budget input session, and we've never had to do it. But this year, I'm not sure we have to do it, because I'm not sure if there's anything we can do but a flatline budget without any capital. However, on the probability that we will have more tax revenue because of the industrial park, we need to proceed. I don't think we'll have final numbers from that until the 25th. The third-party appraisers are supposed to turn their stuff into the appraisal district tomorrow, so hopefully we'll get a little bit of a preliminary indicator. That said, I asked Carolyn to put our capital requests that all got basically stripped out of the budget for this year up. There's a couple of these issues that I already know a way or two to fix, such as we're going to find a way to buy police cars, because I don't want to hear James gripe about it all year. Plus, we need police cars. And but thought we might start by letting you look at our capital request and maybe putting in order of your priority what should come first when time comes. Now, this is all focused on general fund. Utility fund is just fine. We probably going to have a short year this year because of the rain deep into July, and that's fine too. But revenue-wise, we're okay in the utility fund for this upcoming year, and we'll probably be okay in the general fund, but we don't know that yet. So, Carolyn? Extrication tool. Extricating people from vehicles.
Yeah. And then the SCBA's, that is a replacement, that's not new. SCBA's are replacing obsolete Firehawks, which is a brand that is no longer manufactured. And they said they're obsolete as far as if you try to get parts to repair them. So,
What are SCBA's?
That's a self-contained breathing apparatus.
Okay. Okay, now the next one was, our police vehicles, the seven, 215,000, I believe it was, that was requested was for 3 additional Tahoes. That plus the outfitting of, each Tahoe runs about $71,765 each. We've been doing 2 a year. And this last year, I believe we did 3, something like that, or no, year before last. This year we did 2, last year we did 3. This year we just did 2. And then moving on to our parks department, they have requested a 75 horsepower skid steer. That is a new service for the parks department. Currently, if they need a skid steer, they're borrowing it from the street.
What is that?
Hmm?
What is that?
Skid steer, it's like a miniature front end loader.
Okay.
Gets in tight spots.
They're also requesting a new pickup truck with the utility box on it. That's not a replacement vehicle, that's an additional vehicle as well. And a 50-foot bucket truck. And so that's a replacement vehicle for their 1999 F-350 bucket truck they're currently using. That was a lot. And then for fleet maintenance, he's requested a 2025 Dodge Ram 1500, stating that that's a replacement for the 2005 Chevy Silverado. So then if you go back to the second page, you can see what each one of those requests total is. And we're just kind of looking for some guidance as far as what, 'cause we may not be able to do all of those, and so what is your priorities, what would you like to see prioritized first? If we can get into that.
And another question, the fleet maintenance, replacement, is, what is that?
It's a utility truck that he's able to take out and do maintenance in the field on heavy
For
equipment.
parks, or is this for
It's fleet maintenance for everybody.
everybody? Okay.
So is a half-ton truck large enough
Well, I
for
don't-
that
I don't-
application?
They had one with, welder, I always told you, with the welder,
It's not a full-blown fleet services vehicle, like you're thinking about, it's just a lighter weight.
Okay.
Get them out there and be able to analyze and fix the smaller things.
I did have a slide, there's also in the street department, they were requesting, cause I didn't get their back up, but a Gradall, excavator
Hmm.
for $337,000. So that, I didn't have any details on, is that a new, that's a new start, something new?
Parks.
I don't know.
No,
anything
that's
else.
streets.
The Gradall is kinda like a backhoe, except it extends and is able to put a grade on a ditch as you're digging it. It's real smooth. You see them work in a ditch a lot of times to daylight it where it'll drain correctly, and that's the machine that does it. It's not a articulated breakover, it's a smooth pulling action, and it
This is something we don't have.
never have had one, always wanted one, but, can't get there yet.
Do the departments that submit these requests, do they do like, I don't know what we'd call it in a municipality? Something requesting for funds that describes the ROI, replacement cost, efficiency advantages, anything of that sort?
We have a form that they fill out, they have to tell us whether it's new, or if it's maintenance or replacement, and then you have to kind of tell us why you're getting it and what the consequences of not getting it.
Mhm.
And then down below, you're supposed to also fill out what's the annual cost to operate. So we
Operating
kinda
costs.
ask all those questions.
Mhm. Do we consider the OpEx in the budget based on the capital
Well-
outlay?
Not really.
Because a lot
Not-
of it just depends on whether we can do it.
Gotcha. Where does this in cost, total cost comparison where does that put us compared to 24, 25 budget? Yeah.
You remember they were last year's budget was on?
It, is there a certain percentage by department for like general fund that you usually budget or outline for
We look at
capital?
needs every year, we look at what the needs are, and of course, every year you're gonna get things that are, what was that summer truck they wanted, it was like $500 or $600.
In comparison to budget?
And so, you can't really just say, here's what was requested and here's the percentage, because some of it is just out of the question.
Budget.
It's cheaper to go rent or lease
Right.
for a week or two than you need versus purchasing.
Is that form that you, is that something we can see to compare? I think that would help prioritize.
Because that's how we prioritize, we tell them, you tell us, now you do your 5 requests and you put them in an order that you think is most important.
Gotcha.
Because when we're doing the budget, we try to get their number one item if
Right,
we can.
100%.
If number one is $500,000 and the rest are all 15 and 20,000, well, you might not get those for the issue.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'd like to see those.
Moving it forward, one year. The only one I don't have is streets, but everything else, all of them is, yeah, you can get it, we have, parks. And we,
Thank you.
All right, can either one of y'all speak to the, fire department needs?
I know the, SCBA's, I can see those to replace some of the old fire hoses.
How many of those are going in? The bringing that building?
Oh, I don't have a clue.
How many
How
did,
many from there?
Chief?
That's probably 3, maybe.
3 or 4, I'd imagine, yeah.
Just
Three.
they're right at 9,000, 80,
Yeah.
90 or something like that.
And that would be just replacing some of the old ones we have, they're just, you can't find regulators or nothing.
Well, I just think that's very important. I think it is.
Yeah.
Is that high?
We'll just,
Now the extrication tools, I mean, we have some now that work, this would just be adding to what was already there.
Is that just one?
They have 2. and
Well,
then-
it would have been probably 3 separate sets of tools, I imagine.
Is it 3 tools or a
Yeah,
combo?
you know, a ram, spreader, a cutter. Now we maybe could do a combination tool.
So I'm hearing SCBA to be the number one of
Yeah.
those two.
Yeah. On parks, the 50-foot bucket truck,
Yes.
they have one now, what do they use it for?
Well, I imagine trees.
We do some tree trimming with it. They also have to use it to change out the lights at the exchange, or we have to rent. I think it reaches doesn't, the bucket truck.
some of them it doesn't. That's part of the problem. They also use it to put up the Christmas decorations and stuff.
How much have we outsourced? Because we can't, we don't have the
We had to
capability to do it?
outsource the lights in the exchange because it wouldn't reach, and they had to replace all those lights.
So minimal cost?
Yeah, it's not minimal, it's pretty expensive to
But like the
rent.
trees at the cemetery, I mean,
Yeah, but
and then with the flooding that we've had just recently at, Amsel Park, there's gonna be probably more trees that'll,
well, trees are always
Yeah.
at the top of the list. But, yeah.
What's the length on that 350 right now, Mr. Sailors? The height of the bucket on the 350 you currently have? 30 feet.
Yeah, it's not only the length, but it's the serviceability of that old one's getting pretty thin.
Another parks question on the utility truck, the 1-ton, that was an addition.
Yes, it's an additional truck.
Mhm. Is that just a empty truck and chassis cost? Are you looking to put tools or equipment on it in that
No, that's,
80 grand?
for a one-ton, that's just the truck cost.
Is that size required to meet that capability of that truck? If that's what it's for?
Oh, I forgot, I apologize, you're correct, that's a Cassie question. They said they needed, so they could take their tools and stuff, the trip, so I wouldn't think it one ton.
Well, my guess is that they need that truck to pull that skid steer around on the trailer or
That
whatever.
may be what they're thinking too. You didn't mention that, but that could be.
I'm gonna keep asking. Nobody else is. On the Chief Burson for Carolyn, we replaced 3 in 23-24 budget, 2 in 24-25 budget. Where does that put us? Are we looking to?
We were on a, when we had 10, so we were on a 2 a year every year. So that way, at the end of 5 years, that one was 5 years old, it was time to replace it. It was just, what Kevin calls a program. We
Alright.
do 2 a year every year. And now we're getting more officers, so 2 doesn't quite get you 5 years anymore.
Gotcha. How many officers do we have? Are we trying to budget for next year? Do we know?
How many officers do you have now, James? Actual officers? 7? 11.
That, is that including SROs? Is that including the school resource officers? Mm. And what, so we have 11 officers. You're gonna try to grow that head count? You're trying to grow that head count from 11 to what? And how many units do we currently have?
We got 3 worn out units sitting there that, gets rid of. We're gonna put them out to that being developed. We got two vehicles sitting at about 200,000. We got, including 3 at 170,000. The rest of it,
Gotcha.
we got 2 new units out. And 2 that about a year old.
So right now we have a surplus of 3. Well, the proposal is to put 3 more into rotation.
I try to take the older vehicles and send them up to the school.
Right. Do you see a ROI on the used vehicles when you put them to auction?
Sir,
Do you see a return on any of those vehicles whenever you put them to auction?
comes in with 0.
But yeah,
Not much.
No, I didn't think so. Just
They're
curious.
pretty wore out by the time we lose them.
and in answer to your question, Laura, last year's adopted capital was 400. Okay. 457,000. Now, we had probably close to 3, 4, probably close to 600,000 that was deferred. So the request would be about the same, it's just one of 3, and 400.
So that's it, requested, and you have kind of an idea of what can be budgeted for,
Not yet at all. But I'll know when I get those final numbers. I've got a,
but you just want priorities.
right,
Yes.
I've got a strong idea that I can pick up 2 police cars just by salary differences we're gonna have this next year. We'll probably have to backfill that later, but I think we can get by for a little while without that full area, but that's,
Does the parks taking the skid steer away from streets, Mr. Sailors, does that create any issues?
Oh, you mean when they borrow?
Mm-hmm.
We work together on stuff, I wouldn't say it takes away, but yeah, it would be better if they had their own.
But it hasn't created any delays in any projects or anything of that sort?
place that they would compete would be during cleanup after storms. And that, you just have to delay somebody's cleanup in one area over the other.
Now, the excavator.
Extricators,
Yeah, no, the
excavator.
grade all that,
oh, yeah.
the street department's wanting. Yeah, that's an excavator, not an extricator.
Correct.
So, that was gonna be new. Have we looked on buy board or anywhere else to?
Imagine they priced it off of someplace like that, generally where we're gonna price it. But, you know, this is a holding number. At this point, that's a pretty far stretch of our abilities this next year.
Right, and that's kind of what is this something that the street department really needs right now?
Well, they can live without it, obviously.
Addressing
Have to.
drainage issues, as y'all know, we've been inundated with rain really last year and this year. And, it's exposed some drainage problems that we're trying to deal with. Backhoes work, but this would make it quicker and more efficient, trying to clean out ditches and drainage creeks. Like, we've got one on North Second that we have to attack. Comes out of the old rail right away, things like that.
So we'll be leaning, so we said our top priority would be the SCBA's. Or number 2, were we discussing around the bucket truck?
Yeah, what I was looking at was kind of grading what I felt was important per department.
Per department.
Of which, you know, of course, with fire department, you know, the SCBA's are a must-have. The extrication tools are not a must-have right now.
Okay, so you wanna see about department?
You said, James, you said you had 3 police cars that have over 200,000, close to 300.
I know 2 for sure, and then we got some at 175.
And if we can't do 3, we can do 2. When we find out what money we have. How many trucks does the Parks Department have?
How many trucks Parks have? Pickups? Some of them are
I know they're-
way wore out, but
Yeah.
I can get a quick count, give me
I
a
mean, I
minute.
can go look it up on VIN number, but I'm not sure if there's
well, if you include the cemetery one, they're probably
a.
4
But
or 5.
they took the 2 for, yeah, there would have been before we were cemetery, so. Cause they got a new one this year.
Couple of Dodge.
have to, and we want them to not be in the shop, but on the road.
Right. Car shop.
I remember there were times where I think nearly every one of them were at the shop most of the time, back years ago.
First came here, they'd be in the shop, and we couldn't get anybody to work on them. They'd need to go to the shop, and nobody'd take them.
We don't have the parts. But I know we want our fire department and our police department really quick.
Well, I would have to say, if I was to kind of prioritize what all's on this list, the top three would be the SCBA's, the patrol cars, and possibly that bucket truck, because we don't want any of our parks workers up in a dangerous bucket.
I agree. I agree with
Your thoughts? Well, that wasn't really agreeing.
that.
So, city manager, how would you like us to approach this?
I've already got it done,
Okay.
based on your comments. Pretty well gonna get you at least 2 patrol cars. He's wanted 3 every year that I can remember, and he's always only gotten 2. We were able to squeeze 3 in last year for some I think they cheated me, but,
We got that one out of Chicago.
Oh, is that-
oh, that's right, we had
I would ask for more.
well, I think we had a wrecked one.
Um,
We were able to make a good deal. The SCBA's, we'll figure something out, extrication tool maybe. If we get the money, Parks probably needs to choose, either between the bucket truck, or maybe even choose if we don't have enough money between the other 2. And, we'll figure out something on maintenance. The fleet maintenance truck may have to go another year. Good practice for fleet maintenance. But we might be able to swap something out, just have to take a look and see what that is. This really isn't that big of a problem / opportunity. But also, this is a very focused, diminutive list comparatively. I mean, she had to go through a lot to get it to this list. And that's not council priorities. There's not a single council priority on here that wasn't brought to you as a staff priority. And my curiosity is also is if we're able to break loose, maybe not for this year, but for the next year and the year after that, the following years, if there's some programmatic opportunities that you all see. One of the things that comes to my mind is we're fixing to, we have traded for and will be inheriting a gymnasium down the street here at the junior high, and that field and that field house. All that's in part of the trade for the new junior high, so they're gonna be using it another year, but there'll be some operational opportunities there. You might need to be thinking about that, and that's not necessarily for right now, but things that y'all might wanna discuss and look at. Cassie's already taken a look. We have some good ideas on how to proceed with some of that, but you may have other thoughts. Our thought currently is to help someone, there are interested parties here to program a similar operation to the young football and young baseball leagues. You have the little dribblers, it's always been a very abbreviated program. Might be able to expand that, might find somebody that wants to push a similar program for volleyball. Being building blocks for your junior high and high school programs in the future, that would make a lot of sense. We would have the facility. I'm very big on having good facilities and helping to keep them nice along with the volunteers. Great example of that, best I've ever had to share is what's going on out at the McGregor baseball fields. Charlie Williams and those folks in that board have done a stellar job over the years. Charlie puts a lot of his sweat into it. We stepped up with water and help on the facilities, the lights, SpaceX, big part of funding all that. You've got one of the finest little triplexes in this area. So you take that similar model and put it into the other sports. You've got a great example in your football program here for the kids. Got a good, strong group of volunteers. They've always had good performance over the years. Now they're gonna have a field to call their own. I think Paul Allison is still on the, I wish Cassie was here, cause she was gonna make Paul Allison, before he got off, said that he would ramrod the, rehab of the wall in the stadium, that he would kind of help with that and get people to do that. So there's a lot of good things we're looking at in that regard. It's a little different for this town, so those are things that you need to think about. You're gonna have a brand new set of courts. There's gonna be some good opportunities with that. There's gonna be some issues with it too, because you're gonna be doing things in the neighborhood with lights that go till 9 o'clock at night that hadn't been going on. So there's things like that. Street program is always there. As you free up debt capacity in the future, you need to always put streets in that. That's the only way you're gonna catch up over the decades. Anytime you go that long without doing any major investment, I mean, we made a major investment intending to come back and overlay a lot of the streets that we seal coated, and we haven't been able to do that yet. So we've got streets that we've already done that we need to do again. And overlay, after this program, I think we're gonna be doing a lot more overlays in the second half of the one we just started in phase 2. But other things that you think we need to look at, I don't know what that would be, signage. One of you might want to put a bunch of one-way streets in town. I would advise against it, but that may be something you want to look at. I just, don't let the four corners of the document that you saw last year and that you're going to be looking at this year. This is not a great year to be doing a dreamscape, but you might as well start looking at it. And also, if we can get our comprehensive plan funded, which I'm very frustrated about, because we've been waiting on grant money, which really frustrates me, but it looks like that's fixing to break loose. You'll be going through a comprehensive plan that will have some visioning with that. Our vision plan is just about completed, that you've done and redone, so the community's gonna have another shot at that. So this is a good time to be thinking about where you wanna take your community for the next 30 years. So what you've done here will give me some guidance whenever we find out what the money really is. And hopefully we'll be able to come back to you with even more. But I always like to count my chickens before they hatch, but I don't ever really do it.
So, one more time, run that list by me, the prioritization that you had one more time, if you don't mind.
No, it's I got it, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
What I heard you say is do the scubas, or the SCBAs. I think that's absolutely right. At least a couple of patrol cars, and the main one you looked at on the parks was the bucket truck. And if we can't do that, then we can make them choose between the other two possibly. And then look at some probably extrication tools, some type of swap, or maybe wait a year on the fleet maintenance truck. That's where I'm right now in my notes anyway.
So those last two trucks, one patrol car and that excavator would be at the very bottom.
Yeah, the excavator, we just
Yeah.
can't reach that this year. I don't think. If we can, I'll be pleasantly surprised and happy to let the street department have it.
Yeah. Because if you took out the excavator, the one patrol car, and the trucks, that puts us consistent to adopted last year, the 400-ish.
Pretty close.
I think that's reasonable. And are they throughout the year, if you see operating down, do you try to absorb some of the capital projects into OpEx, any at all?
Are you asking me
if revenues stay the same or are up, and your departments are spending under operating, do you try to absorb any of these throughout the year?
All of the above.
All the above?
As revenues,
We come back.
as revenues come back or go, we try to be very quick to adjust.
Gotcha.
That's
Just
really
in
the secret.
just in consideration to capital outlay.
One of the things you guys haven't heard me say yet, but everybody else has, we have to get this budget done, we have to get it done in a timely manner according to law, but it's not carved in stone. What really drives what we spend is what we make, when we make it. The cash flow is as big a problem to manage as just picking up the budget, because taxes come in pretty much all at once, sometimes later in the year. Some of our franchise fees come in late. Utility revenues obviously ebb and flow throughout the seasons. So it's not just about saying this is our budget, but it's also about managing it on a monthly basis and making adjustments as you go. It's the only way you can adjust for economic downturns, or what's the other word, windfalls. Haven't seen many windfalls in my career, but I've seen a lot of economic downturns.
I know we were talking about, middle school, that we're gonna be, it'll be the cities in the Woodfield. You know, the repair on that, will that include the, ticket offices, the roof on those, will those be fixed?
It's, my understanding is that's his plan.
Okay, and then also I was wondering, I don't know if it would be the city doing it, but to get a historical marker on Woodfield.
I think we should, and I think we can, and it would be us writing the letter.
Okay, and the cost of that would be the city's. So I would really like to see us do that, because it dates back to nearly 100 years.
Yep.
And that would help, maybe help with grants and stuff, I don't know, with some of the repair work that would be done. But I'd like to see a historical marker for that.
I agree.
And I don't know, I guess that's all I guess it's in. But if
Oh, yeah.
I can help, with getting information.
We probably ought to begin pursuing that fairly soon, because one of our best friends in that regard is getting a little older. But he's still out there. Watson Arnold would probably be a champion.
All right. So you have what information you need, we can go ahead and move on.
You probably need to wait till 6:30 at least to do the zoning stuff, but you can start the rest of it anytime you want to. Have you got anything else? It was, just the zoning stuff was booked at 6:30, correct? Okay, so you can do the rest of the agenda any way you want to do it.
All right. Well, we will go ahead and start with the consent agenda. Consider improving minutes of council meeting held on June 9th, 2025. A copy of the minutes were included in your packet. After reading them, that's the way I remember it happening.
Make a motion that we accept them as presented. Second.
Motion is second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? That motion carries. Discussion and possible action on Walker Partners' recommendation letter to award a construction contract for TXCDBG project CDV 23-0172. Mr. Henson, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Yes, before you is a recommendation for the McGregor wastewater electrical improvements project, which is a CDBG grant project. Last Tuesday, we received 2 bids for this project. The low bid was Alliance Electrical Group LLC in a base bid amount of $421,360. There was an additive alternate, and their bid for that was $156,189.60. So a total bid of $577,549.60. The engineer's EOBC was 525,000. So they were pretty close, to where we were, a little bit over. But based on that, we have not worked with Alliance, through a full project. I'll say we're working with them right now. They're a subcontractor, as an electrical, contractor for a lift station that we're doing. So we did follow up with a couple of, a couple of their references, that they provided as part of their bid package, and we did get good responses from their references. So we feel comfortable moving forward with them for this project, for both the base bid and the additive alternate.
Jacob, could you give me an explanation why there's so much distance between these two bids?
Honestly, I can't give you a 100% answer on why there was such a big difference. The only thing based on the bid documents that I could tell was there was the contractors were required to provide a list of work that they're currently working on and the anticipated finish date. And Alliance listed 2 projects that had a completion date of the end of July, whereas the other contractor, most of their projects aren't ending until the end of the year. So my best assumption that I can make is just availability.
Okay.
Alliance has the availability to do the work now to get started, where the other contractor seems like they're pretty covered up, so I guess it'd be that they don't really need the work at this point in time.
Okay, so
You did that real well, I'm just gonna tell you.
that was a really long way of saying they gave us the we don't wanna do it price.
Exactly right.
All right.
Before you vote on this, Mayor, it would be remiss of me not to tell you that we're short of money on this deal. We have a place to make it up, and that's what the next item is about. Utility funds are available, Carolyn?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Utility funds are available for that 127 to finish this project?
Yes.
Okay, but if you vote to award this bid, then you gotta vote to do the next item as well. I wanna make sure you knew that before you voted. And how much grant did we have on this?
400,
Sorry, no, it's okay. It's 450, sorry. It's $400,100 with a match commitment of $50,000 for the city already. So this 127 in additional funds is in addition to your $50,000 match commitment that has to be paid regardless.
Thank you.
And just to reiterate too, that would be if you decided to move forward with both the base bid and the ad alternate. The base bid would be covered under the grant plus your match, without any additional.
Okay, well, the sewer plant definitely needs improvements. We already know that, and we don't need that backing up on us.
Yeah.
So, council have any more questions? All right, I will entertain a motion.
Yeah. I got one more thing. So
go
now,
ahead.
now I'm confused just a little bit. So it would be you said the cost, the 50K plus the difference of the 156?
The additive alternate bid was 156, right, Jacob?
Correct. So between the base bid and the ad alternate, it's a total of 577, 549. And so with the grant of $400,100 plus the $50,000 that y'all are already committed as part of the grant, you already have basically $450,000 set aside. So if you were to award both the base bid and the ad alternate, that's the additional 127 that's included as part of the next council agenda item.
Right.
If you were to just award the base bid, then the $400,100 as part of the grant plus the $50,000 that y'all are already committed would cover that base bid amount.
Gotcha. So we'd be out of pocket, quote unquote, the 177 for both.
Essentially, yes.
And you said that was, you said that's already in the utility fund?
Yes,
And
the
but-
50,000 was approved like 2 years ago.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
When
approved
we
as
got
part
first
of your
applying for the grant.
application.
And it was for the park.
Jacob, what was the ad alternate?
The ad alternate is for yes, a chemical, a new chemical storage building and what would be the chemical distribution system
Right.
moving forward.
Without that alternative bid, what's the repercussions of not upgrading?
Oh, you need to do it. Your entire plant needs to be upgraded and expanded, and we've got a permitting process to do that as well. But this is a good time to do this chemical building.
Right now, your electrical and your chemical is all in the same building, and because of that reason, the chemical building, the chemicals within the building does give off some off-gassing, which degrades your electrical, and that's the big issue with your electrical components right now, is because they have been housed in the same building since that plant was built. Your electrical components are in pretty bad condition, and so we're trying to separate those two to protect what you're spending that money on, all the electrical upgrades, so let's protect those, make sure we don't have the same issue moving forward.
They don't build them that way anymore for that reason.
And the original application was to build a new electrical building, but due to budget constraints, Jacob's design calls for a chemical building and to rehab all the existing electrical, to save money.
All right. Any further questions? I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the Alliance Electrical Group LLC for both the base bid and the additive alternate number 1 for the total amount of $577,549.60.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Now moving on to item 4, discussion and possible action on the authorization of the city manager to allocate additional local funds in the amount of $127,449.60 for increased construction costs for the TXCDBG project CDV 23-0172, further noting that the total project cost of $577,549.60. So, as discussed in the previous agenda item, we need to give our city manager a way to make that happen. Is there any further discussion on that? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion we allocate the additional local funds in the amount of $127,449.60 for increased construction costs for the TXCBDG project CDV 230172, further noting the total amount of project cost of $577,549.60.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second?
Yeah.
Alfredo.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. That motion carries. Item 5, presentation of the TDA Form A1024 CDBG Section 3 Goals and Concepts as related to the CDBG program and grant contract CDV 23-0172.
Alright, that's me. Since I didn't introduce myself earlier, I'm Shauna Canales with GrantWorks. The Section 3 presentation is required of all grants. Section 3 is something that we have to meet as part of using federal funds. This is a way to ensure that we make business opportunities available to lower income businesses. So this is essentially a box that we have to check for the grant. The city of McGregor was recently awarded a grant fund in the amount total grant award. The figures we gave y'all earlier did not include administrative and engineering budgets. We only gave the construction figures, so that's the difference. This project is to rehabilitate the components at the wastewater treatment facility, including that new chemical coating. This grant is funded through the Community Development Block Grant Program. That comes from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and it's delivered to us directly through the Texas Department of Agriculture. As a condition of the funding, the city must comply with Section 30 of the Housing and Urban Development Act of 1968. To the greatest extent feasible, grant recipients must direct economic opportunities generated by CDBG funds to low and very low income persons. In part, this means ensuring that Section 3 businesses have the information to submit a bid or proposal for the project, and that Section 3 workers have the information on any available job opportunities. Generally speaking, since these are sealed bid projects, there are no actual job opportunities. The contractors come in with a full staff, and we don't really have to do anything from that perspective, but we still send it out to historically underutilized businesses, minority and women-owned businesses as well. A company must or may qualify as a Section 3 business if it is owned by a low-income person, it's owned by Section 8 assisted housing residents, or 75% of all the labor hours for the business in a 3-month period are performed by Section 3 workers. You can register your Section 3 business with the city. This project is expected to include the following contracting opportunities. The grant administration services are provided to you by GrantWorks, that's me. Engineering services are provided by Walker Partners, that's Jacob over here. And then the prime contractor will be awarded to Alliance that we just discussed in the last two agenda items. And any subcontractors that they might hire. We don't know of those right now, but they will have to be SAM cleared and vetted as well. You may qualify as a Section 3 worker if your annual income is below the county threshold for your family size, and you're a current or recent youth build participant. And you can register your information and search the opportunities at workintexas.gov. For this project, this Section 3 service area map here is our general service area. This map is put together by searching the pinpointed location of the wastewater treatment plant and then expanding out until we hit a 5,000 in the low to moderate income category. And then all of those are McGregor residents, but depending on how many we have to select to get the 5,000, we could have stopped shorter, but you can see the total down there is just over 5,000. City will track all hours worked on the project based on the 3 categories of workers. This will require the collection of certain income information from all workers, all Section 3 workers, and all targeted Section 3 workers. When I say the city's gonna track it, I mean, we're gonna track it for y'all. But the city's signing off on it. And these are some links to the policies that give you more information for Section 3, the Code of Federal Regulations, and the policy issuance. And if you have any questions, you can ask myself or Mr. Evans. Probably he'll direct your email to me.
Yep. Guaranteed.
Yeah. Any questions?
Council? Thank you. All right. Well, we're really close. So, Brian, come on up, I guess. Item 6 is hold a public hearing regarding application for replat of a .3788 acre unaddressed parcel on the 100 block of Roger Street, known as Hail Joe Lot 2, Block 1. Property ID 136465.
Good evening, council. This one's pretty straightforward. This is a request for a replat on Rogers Street. It is unaddressed at this time. Right now, it is a 16,000 square foot parcel. They desire to split it right down the middle, so that would make each tract 50 by 165, which meets the zoning requirement. That's a R6 zoning over there. The water and the wastewater are readily available there in the street on that block, and planning and zoning did recommend this replat for approval.
All right. Well, this is to hold a public hearing, so we'll open the public hearing at 6:29. Is there anybody here to speak on that?
I have a question. What is that, the lot that's right across the front of where they just put that trailer house, where they just put that single wide trailer? Or
So-
is it the next lot that's the same?
So last year, council rezoned the western block face of Rogers. This block face was zoned MH, or manufactured housing. Last year, council rezoned this to add just the western block face as R6. So the manufactured housing zoning starts on the eastern block face of Rogers. You have Rogers, Pullen, and Johnson Street are the MH zoning. So there is a trailer, I believe, a new one that was added here, but this side of the street is zoned for manufactured housing. This side has been rezoned for traditional single-family homes.
So it's something that on that, if you're going down on the left-hand side, you
Mhm.
put a double wide manufactured home there.
If there's
Back, it is sort of nice.
like there shouldn't be a new one on this side. That's not the zoning for it.
All right, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:30. Move on to agenda item number 7, which is council discussion and possible action regarding application for the replat of a .3788 acre unaddressed parcel on the 100 block of Rogers Street, known as Hale Joe Lot 2, Block 1, property ID 136465. So council, now is your time to ask any questions of Brian. Okay. At this point, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we approve the replat of 0.3788 acre unaddressed parcel on the 100 block of Rogers Street, known as Hale Joe Lot 2, Block 1, PID 136465.
All right, we have a motion, and we have a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. That motion carries. All right, item number 8, hold a public hearing regarding application for conceptual plan for an unnamed planned use development located in the city of McGregor, McLennan County, Texas, being all of Brewster BF plus or minus 112.88 acres, property ID 135022.
All right, council, y'all are seeing this one again. Unfortunately, I was away on a work trip the last council meeting. I did watch from afar, and I was able to meet with the developer after the meeting to get some feedback from them. They likewise requested some feedback from y'all, so I met with a couple of the council members just to get some feedback on this. We'll just kind of recap it. This is 112 acres, formerly called the Country Trails residential development that was originally started by the Hahn brothers. They began that process when Mike was here a couple years ago. Part of their property, the north part, 60 acres or so, was on a delayed developer agreement. We annexed that in. Part of the developer agreement was that it would be annexed in as R10. Due to their proposal of half-acre or larger subdivision, we had created the R20 zoning in that time, so we changed the land zoning to R20 to meet their development. Unfortunately, that project didn't materialize. So the developer that's currently doing this subdivision down here, this is at Adeline Crossing, they're interested in developing this piece of property, so they have a conceptual plan here. The motion did not make at the last council meeting, so they asked to present it again, and the feedback that they got from council individually was that the density was one of the biggest issues. So they have a proposal on the screen there. It's more of a 70-30 mix. 70% with the zoning being 7,200 square foot, and then 30% being the R10, which is a little bit bigger than what's the surrounding areas. And then a reduction actually in the commercial size. Commercial was the gray area there, to 17 acres. So this could be a planned development, or it could be a straight zoning, which we did in the past for another developer, just rezone the property. Again, water supply is sufficient here, but the wastewaters are our big issue. The lines in this area all need to be upsized, and then all the way to the North Lift Station and down to Spring Valley Lift Station needs to be upsized, and Spring Valley Lift Station needs to be rebuilt. Believe the price on that's a little about $10 million. So the TERS 2 doesn't have enough for us to leverage that right now, and then the developer not interested in taking on that cost. Jacob did go with the developer down to College Station. There's a company called Water Fleet that does kind of a small package plant that they could use. So that's something that we did look at. It's not our first choice, but that might be an interim solution based on their proposed takedown schedule for this. GrantWorks is also looking at some grants that we might be able to apply for wastewater systems, and then Texas Water Development Board does have some financing options that open up later this year that we could also take a closer look at. But right now we only have 29 connections for wastewater that exist in that particular area. I did receive one return mail originally before the last council meeting, but due to the post office after the last council meeting, I also received 3 other return mails from the original posting. And then for this version of it, we've got 2 return notices, and then the 3 that came back from the first time. I didn't send those out. The first presentation, we received a phone call from Miss Lanneman at 518 North Main. She described to me that she was opposed to seeing that field develop, but was generally not in favor of general commercial, and that I clarified to her that the general commercial would be on 317 and not North Main. She also had concerns about the traffic and where that would connect. I explained to her the connection would probably be here at New Windsor, but there would be some other connections to get the traffic out of the neighborhood. For the most recent notice, I received a phone call from, might butcher her last name, Miss Pacheco. She lives at 926 Rattler Hill. She asked some very good informed questions, expressed to me that she did have a past with some development and a previous state that she had lived in. So her biggest concerns were the traffic and then the watershed. So I explained to her that the traffic needed to be studied and that the watershed was something that was going to have to be engineered out. So I do have the developers here. Greg and Jeff are with Elevate, and then I have Laura with Stylecraft. They're going to speak to their project in just a little bit greater detail.
All right, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing at 6:37. And I'm sure that we have some citizens that want to speak on this.
Good evening. My name is Connie Smallready, and my husband and I work all 112 acres of this right now. We've worked it probably 25, 30 years. The biggest issue on this, and we know it's going away in agriculture. We don't like it. because we stand for agriculture, but we also understand the growth of our city. But water is the biggest issue. And after 2 weeks ago in another city in the state of Texas, we've got to be very, very careful of how we do this and how we put homes in there and how we put people at risk. And it's a big issue. And so that's one of my main concerns. My next concern is who actually owns this property as of today? Do we know? You do?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Okay. When it was the Hans, they did a water study and they also did a traffic study, and they abandoned both of them. During that time, when they did all these things, they drove over my soybeans, they put stakes in the ground, we ran our equipment through them. There was no communication with me or Rodney. And I'm always around. So I'm easy to find. I used to be a teacher. I retired from the school district. It's a big deal. It's a respect issue. If we're going to do these, and if we still lease the land, we've got it leased for quite a while, that we ask that they come to us. We're not going to say no, but we just need to know where things are so we don't run our equipment as well. The other issue is you cannot put a retention pond where it is. That water is going to go up, and you know water has to go down. There is a berm there. Actually, these were put in years and years ago, waterways, to slow the water down because it comes from another property, and you can't back that up on someone else's property just to keep yours from flooding. And these were put in, and that's not one of the lower parts of the property. No matter what the engineers say, I promise you, that is not one of the lowest parts. Biggest concerns on that, again, are water and where the retention pond is being put, the amount of houses being put. We have 142 houses as of today on the market in McGregor. And we've got the Adeline that's going to add 200 more. The development out by the nursing home that's going to add 150 to 200. We have the one out at the parks that's going to add that's like 650 to 700 houses without this. And I think we just need to slow down. Not saying don't do it, but let's slow down. Let's get at capacity for the other things and then take it from there. We're sitting on a gold mine in McGregor. I mean, we're the little town, and most people want to stay little. We're going to grow, but let's do it at a slower rate, and it just overcomes our school districts, our police force, our fire, and we just need to be real sure that we can handle all that before we just let someone come in and do it, and they leave, and our city council and our community is left to deal with problems that we know we're going to have. And they're not doing it intentionally, but we're going to have them, and then they're going to be our problem. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for listening.
All right, who would like to go next?
Okay.
Yeah, Boyd got here last, didn't he?
Yeah. So I'm Sheila Hain, and I've already gone on record for two big concerns is the water, the flooding, and the traffic. And I would just like to say, every time we mention the water concern, the immediate response is like, it's going to be engineered. It's going to be taken care of. The engineers are going to do the study. So if you could put up image 1 for me, please. I'm assuming that all commercial property has to go through the same engineering, and that plan is also approved by the city. Well, if you patronize and shop at Dollar General in McGregor, the one on 84 West McGregor Drive, like I said, I'm sure those plans were engineered. All of that parking in the front, when it rains heavy or it rains several days, is totally useless unless you want to wade through several inches of water. Okay, that was, I'm assuming, an engineered study. Okay, so let's not be so quick to say it's going to be engineered, it's going to be rectified. We're dealing with a much smaller area here than we are on this subdivision. So miscalculations happen. oh, that didn't work out exactly like we planned, happen. That's just one example right there, okay? My next concern with the traffic is, I talked to Brian, he said that the city was gonna see about doing a study before some other things happen. I would just like to make sure that that traffic study is done when school is in session, and we have an accurate portrayal of the number of cars and traffic, not during summer break, not during Christmas break, not during Thanksgiving, when we get an accurate one. And then before this goes in effect again, we need to address the traffic from the Adeline housing development. With those cars and those, that's gonna impact that. So what you even do in 2 months is not gonna be reflective because they have not developed yet. Okay, so 2 big concerns. All right, then after what was proposed at the last meeting, the detention pond, I want to address a couple of concerns about that. And the main one, and I see things have changed on the map from what we saw last time, so don't really know how to accurately address specifically some of it. But with the detention pond, the biggest concern with all detention ponds is the mosquitoes. What is the city going to do for mosquito abatement? Okay, I'm assuming that this land is going to be deeded to the city, which means it becomes the city property, not the developer's issue to worry about. So what are we going to do about the mosquitoes? That is a huge concern. The next thing about the detention pond is in order for it to continue to operate at its design capacity, it's going to have to be dredged. Silt from the runoff deposit is going to deposit. It is going to change the calculations, the measurements, that kind of stuff. How is that going to be addressed? And at whose expense? We know it's the city. So again, is that passed on to us, the taxpayer? Where's that additional funding coming from? The next one is the mowing. And if you could go ahead and put up my other pictures, you can just run through them in order. Okay, this is currently looking at North Main. This is the property. This is the city easements right now, okay? This is, as you're looking at the church, the hub, I'm not sure what the name of it is now, but that was from North Main. You can see the lovely Johnson grass that stands about this tall. If you go to the next one, that's looking down at Willoway before you get into Indian Trails. The next picture is as you round the corner, and you see, again, both sides. That's the back side of Indian Trails. The next one, that's at the end of where my parents are. That's the corner. That's that property. You can see ours has been cut. The next one is there. And then this one is just coming back into town. So that, again, is additional property. I mean, that's current property that the city is not maintaining. Okay? You're adding, based on the last calculation, my numbers are off here, but based on the other one, you were adding 10 to 15 acres of land for the city to maintain, in addition to the easement. Again, at what cost? The city is struggling right now. Parks and Recreation, they're constantly hiring somebody because no one stays with the job. You're already outsourcing. There is another company that does some of the lawn care. Who's going to absorb this? Where's that cost and money coming from? Taxpayer expense again. Okay, you were talking about the budget earlier. This ought to be a big concern because it's falling back on the city. Not to mention, you've now inherited the land out at the Parks 3. That was discussed at the last meeting that the city has to maintain. So you have some other expenses here that you need to look at. And then my other concern is where this detention pond is when it gets deeded to the city. What kind of restrictions are on that deed? What prevents, years down the road, all of you are gone, somebody else is in place, what prevents the city selling or developing that prime land? What restrictions are listed and coded on that property so that doesn't happen and protect that flooding, which is what it's supposed to do? My final concern, not related to the detention pond, is just in general the cost that it's going to incur for the city to put in the lift station, to do everything else that's required to get the sewer, okay? I understand there's funding and there's grants, but if the city has enough money currently to take on a project like this, why can't we take care of other projects in town? We have streets that need repair. At one time, the city had, and I'm just going to call it a 10-year plan because I don't remember what it was. On their website, it said Here's the streets, here's the projection, here's ones we've started and completed, here's what's in the works, here's what still needs to be done. Couldn't find that. Where do we stand on that? The current taxpayers deserve to be treated right with our city funds before we inherit more expenses. Even though it's new construction, things happen, and the city will have to outflow money. Take care of the current citizens and what we have. So, appreciate your time.
Thank you. Mr. Herring.
Mr. Mayor, council members, thanks for the time that you've given us to come and do this. I don't mean to replow old ground from the last meeting that we had, but I will go over a little bit of it, and I appreciate you putting that back up. I want to give you, just bear with me, just a little bit of the history on some of this land. I don't farm it anymore. I was involved for a number of years, but above where the houses are, you see the brown part. I guess that's taken during the drought year or something. It's brown up there. You can see where the waterway comes down and where they have moved the houses off of there. But the way this land lays, where the top of the picture is and where it turns brown, or a darker color at the very top, the water that comes down flows to the north. Everything else from the light brown comes south and eventually into the waterway. So water comes in from the west side, the east side, and goes into that waterway and comes down. So for years and years, all this land and where these houses are laid out was terraced to be farmed. For years and years, it just never worked. Okay, so some 25 years ago, with input from the USDA, the Natural Resource Conservation Service, said about the only thing you're going to be able to do to make this work is get rid of the terraces, run your row crops east to west, have the water funnel into the middle and come down and so forth. So we did, and that's the way it was farmed for a number of years. And if you could go out there and see now, you would see, well, the row crops on the east side, they run north and south. It's simply the water runs down there, but they can't run it east and west. It's just too short. But if you could see row crops where these houses are in the green, they always run east to west, and it keeps the water from just rushing down as much. So that was their recommendation. So finally, down here at the bottom where this detention pond would be, the blue, and where the one is right above that, it washed so bad it was just given up, and all that land was sold into grass. It's hay right now because it wouldn't work for farming, doing row crops. So a lot of the dirt and everything, as was mentioned about the silt coming down, it would run into that ditch, go under the bridge, and onto the east side there. So that's just a little bit of the history. So it's been a problem for years and years, for decades, and I would assume it's always going to be a problem on there. So we've all heard the horror stories about the floods in the 50s and what it did to the cemetery and everything. So that finally precipitated some work done, and a lot of what you see in that ditch on the east side of 317, that's a result of what came in there. And it's done a pretty good job in preventing flooding in the houses and everything over the years. There were even some streets taken out many years ago to allow for that. And so what you see is what was done a number of years ago. And as I said, it's done a pretty good job. But here in May of 2024, things changed, and we had what we had. Water got up into people's houses and just came very close to doing a lot more damage than it did. So I said, well, okay, what changed? What happened? Why could that have happened? Was it just that a huge cloud dumped 8 inches of rain? The only thing I think of, and I'm not saying this is what caused it, I just want you to think about this. The houses at the corner of New Windsor Parkway and 317, all the townhomes and everything, those are some new homes that hadn't been there over the years. And again, I'm not saying this is a cause of it. They do have a detention pond, although it is a small one. But those houses have to add additional pressure on the ability for that waterway to handle that. Again, I'm not saying that it did, but it's just something to think about. So now we're going to add however many homes. I don't know if it's 150, hundreds, I don't know how many homes are in this. I think last time we were here is around 200 homes. And yes, I know that Walker Partners will do their study, and it was done 3 years ago, I'm assuming. And they did that, and the study was approved and everything, but that was a maximum of 125 homes. So again, from 3 years ago to now, we have some additional things that have happened, some additional information, and you know, we should have a concern about the potential for flooding there, I would think. And everybody's got a heightened awareness of everything that's been going on. And so as Council Member Mullins said last time, no matter what you do, water's going to do what water's going to do eventually if there's enough of it. So my main concern is the water. I think that's the consensus here. That's the number one concern is water. So what we're doing, if you think about this, if this plan is approved and everything's engineered and they put in detention ponds and all, we're still expecting the people on the east side of 317 to say, okay, you know, they've done their due diligence and nothing's going to happen to us. But we don't know that. We don't know if the detention pond is scaled out right. We just don't know what's going to happen. Now, I'm not trying to say it is going to happen. Well, we're going to have another rain event at some point in time. And so to ask those people to be ready, you know, they're going to have that expectation. We have a number of projects, as was mentioned earlier, that concentrating on. I know we need additional housing here in town. Those projects that she mentioned, and also I understand that Cotton Belt Crossings, they have finally gotten to go. There's 300 acres down there with the potential for 1,200 homes. Yeah, they're going to be very small lots, but that's in close proximity. And to my knowledge, this project is the only one that the potential for flooding is going to be a problem or a concern of people downstream from this. I don't know of any others where this is the issue. So again, my main concern is just the flooding potential, and for the folks who have lived where they live for a number of years, and the expectations of that to come. And then the other thing is just the traffic. I know traffic surveys will be done, and they come out with a count. We all know TxDOT, right? And how they prioritize things, how long they're take to get it on their plan, their 2-year plan, their 3-year. I don't know how all that works, but it turns slowly on there. So again, my concern primarily is for the flooding, and just some things to think about as far as, you know, what has changed that could have caused the flooding that we had a year and a half ago. So with that, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Herring. Those are the only 3 people that signed up to speak on this agenda item. So we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:56 and move on to agenda item number 9, which is discussion and possible action regarding application for conceptual plan for the unnamed planned use development located in the city of McGregor, McLennan County, Texas, being all of Brewster BF plus or minus 112.88 acres, property ID number 135022. So Brian, you said you had people to speak on this.
Yes, sir. So Jeff and Greg are part of the development group. They have a quick presentation, and then Ms. Laura's here from Stylecraft. She's going to follow them with a few slides.
All right. Gentlemen, please.
So it's been a year and a half, probably a little bit more, that we, as a company, we found this property nearby and approached the city to talk to them about it. I'm speaking of the one that now has become Adeline Crossing. So we like to think that we've established a good relationship with the city, working relationship with the city, and answered any concerns that came up about that. We have worked with, I hate to almost say this word, but a lot of engineers, including Walker Partners here, who the city is very familiar with. And we rely on them to help us and guide us and advise us on what's right for each development that we do. We have a pretty good track record of getting that right. And I don't know how to allay some of those concerns that have been raised. I think they're valid. We hear them. We certainly share in those, and that's why we do everything we can to do it right. You know, if there's a problem, we address it, but we like to be proactive and get it right to begin with. So it kind of brings us, so Adeline Crossing, as you know, is nearing completion. It's at the tail end. There has been some rain. We like to think the drainage is working pretty good on that property so far. And that's 107 home sites, which Stylecraft will start to build their first model home sometime in August. We also hear the concerns about traffic, and the plan that we presented tonight is a revision from what was presented to you last month. Both the Planning and Zoning Committee and the council saw a different version of this. We heard the concerns that were raised at that meeting about the density, the zoning, the size of lots. And so we revised that and came back with this plan, which is a different mix. The previous one was all 7,200 square feet, R7.2. This is a mix of 10,000 square foot lots. That's what the lighter colored in the northeast corner is. And the rest are the 7,200 square foot lots. We did have a different look in terms of the set aside for a detention pond, and we have drawn in the drainage. But please understand, that is a pre-engineered concept plan. That's all it is. It's a guess at what we know about the property in terms of the drainage and our experience in, you know, setting aside the right amount of acreage for detention. But that will all be flushed out by engineers. So there also is some commercial set-aside property, which there was last time. Its configuration's a little bit different. But we heard what the city said about what they wanted. In particular, this council wanted to see some larger home sites with larger homes, which is why we came back with what we think and what we know from the market data can support in terms of the split or the mix of the larger lots and the normal size lots. It's about a 70-30% split in this drawing. And as I turn this over to both my partner Jeff and Laura, they will speak to the data that supports that. Independent, it's not us coming up with that, it's just the marketplace. So again, we certainly hear the concerns of all the citizens of the city and understand that, yes, the drainage, the size of the detention pond, all has to be calculated precisely according to rain and flood data. We also will, of course, have to do an updated traffic impact analysis. There is one that was created for this, the prior plan that was submitted several years ago, but as, I'm sorry, I forgot her name, pointed out that the traffic patterns, of course, changed. There is going to be more traffic. There's actually 107 homes in Adeline Crossing, not 200, but it's still, it's an amount of traffic that's going to be added that will all be taken into account. When that prior impact analysis was done, I'm sure those homes along New Windsor Parkway weren't there, because I know they're relatively new. So we hear the concerns. The density certainly impacts impervious cover and the drainage and the watershed. So we know that all has to be looked at carefully. And we promise that it will be. That's our process. So how do we come up with a 70-30 split? This is when I'm going to kick it off to the people who have a little more expertise in the marketplace and what they can speak to absorption rates, what the demand is out there. how it matches the demographics, the income levels, and so forth. So Jeff, you want to take over?
Yeah. Thank you for having us here. We certainly appreciate your time. We've been working with the city either prior to the purchase of Adeline Crossing, so middle of 2023, and we certainly enjoyed the hospitality from the people here in the city. If you go through the slides, this is me. I'm a real estate broker in the state of Texas. I'm also the president of CTX REI, which was the actual development group that acquired Adeline Crossing, and then a principal with the team with Elevated that's proposing to do the work here at Country Trails called the Hans property. There's a bunch of data here which I'll share, but I'm going to try to keep it high level rather than try to explain every slide. So what I did when we looked at, from the last meeting, we looked at, let's see what the data says about what size lots we should have, what size homes we should build. So illustrate the actual market behavior using data from the North Texas real estate system, which is your MLS. Illustrate the purchasing power for the two segments we've identified, which is the medium home, which is going to be what you would normally see on a 7,200 square foot lot, as well as what I'm calling a move-up segment, which is what you'd see on a 10,000 to 15,000 square foot lot, and see how that shapes out for the buyers to make sure we're building lots for Stylecraft to deliver homes on that the people that will live and work in McGregor would want to live on. So this is what I'm calling the total available share of the market, because this subdivision would not be for every buyer in the city. Let's go to the next one here to kind of move along here. So these numbers, mid-income households, 63,888 per year. That's what the data I shared. I confirmed with Brian. He believes that's also consistent with McGregor. Medium home price about 290 to 300K, and the average rent of about 1,550. So first I looked at just the last 23, 24, and 25, and you can see there's two significant buyer groups. One is just that medium home buyer who needs what we would call a medium or entry-level home, right in that $300,000 mark. And then there's another peak right around that 500,000, which I would call the move-up buyer, and that's the person that would likely want the larger lot and could afford to buy it. Now, if we look at newer homes built in 2021, the distribution becomes about the same, but you look at the number of buyers decrease. So that's consistent with the new homes. Now, if we move up to the larger size lots, 0.22 acres is 10,000 square feet to 0.33. Newer homes, what we're seeing is we have a big drop off right in the number of homes sold, right there at 5, versus not as many, but 35 homes, maybe 60 homes on the larger side, moving to the higher income. So what that means to us is that the target buyer for the people that are newly employed in McGregor, working at the McGregor employers, are largely going to be in that $300,000 home range. And now we have the people that would buy those homes moves into a tighter box. Then we also took a look at, now what could somebody buy in that $600,000 range? And so I looked at acreage properties that are an acre or larger, and you can see the shift moving up to about 60% of the segment of people with the 500,000 to spend are likely to look for acreage properties. So our conclusion here is that there is a market for that 10,000 square foot lot or larger. There definitely is. Someone who wants to live close to the city, wants their kids in the McGregor School District, they work here, they want to build their family here, so it makes sense for us to build for that person, but it's not everybody. So if we take a portion of our subdivision and we build it for we'll call it the regular person working out there, we still have that segment. Then we also build larger lots that allow us to build nicer homes, and the city has told us they like that right there on the 317 roadway. And that becomes a good fit that makes sense from us as a developer, but we also think it makes sense for the people that want to live and work in McGregor. So here we have about 60% of the market is really looking for a home right at that median price point, 300 to 325, which fits the 7,200 square foot lot. There's a second peak of buyers, that move-up buyers, about 30% of the market. Then there's 10% that are more expensive properties or very low-end properties. But 60% of that are looking for acreage properties, which leaves us, through the math, about 12% of the total population is looking for that 10,000 square foot lot inside of a subdivision rather than acreage properties. So for us, realizing that McGregor is going to be a superior location inside McLennan County with the draw of the employers here in the town and the schools, if we took 30%, we could adequately serve that segment of the population and capture a larger share, helping the people that want to live and work in McGregor have a nice larger home site. And so worked with our lender to try to take a look at just the purchasing power for the larger size home, about 500,000. Income requirement is going to be about 122 to 134,000 inside the household to be able to afford a home that's built on those lots. And then if you move to the next slide, at the $300,000 price point, we're slightly above the median. You know, we are assuming that most of these households probably have 2 incomes in there, and we believe that it's a good fit based upon affordability. Next slide. So from a developer perspective, you know, these are some things I would do, like I'd recommend to clients and also run a group. In that first phase, there's a down payment gap. Not everybody has the down payment. The point here is those buyers are very sensitive to interest rates, PMI, other items, and so those need to be under very close consideration when we're attracting buyers for those properties. You know, recommended, you know, we're building for mid-income households, entry-level homes. These are totally bankable loans. People want to lend upon them. We also believe that the buyers may need some education about some of the programs to be able to get into their first home, and I think that's super important. So kind of the inclusion is the majority of the build should be for that median price point. The housing options really need to be able to match the buyer's ability to purchase, and the developer and the builder together need to help the buyers be able to do that. And with the absorption rate for the homes, and I know Laura has some more specific data from the actual home builder perspective, is we have about 12% of the market to capture, and I think we're adequately serving that with the design we have for our subdivision.
Hi, hello. I am Laura Sturr with Stylecraft Builders. Unfortunately, I am in sales, so I don't have very fancy slides or very fancy graphs. I just have my gift of gab. So I will be, to steal a phrase from you, a bit high level with my numbers instead of really granular. But basically, to kind of let y'all know what I looked at to kind of support the split that we were talking about. Same thing, I got onto the MLS. I looked for sales in the last 90 days for under a half acre. Then I looked for ones that are over a half acre. I just kind of compared new construction versus older home, the amount of days on market, price per square foot, and the home age. And the reason why I wanted to look at that stuff is this right here. I think everybody wants a big lot, a big house. Just the reality is that it's not feasible for everybody. So what we have found sells well, and what the data supports for McGregor area as well, is if you can get your price per square foot about $170, that's kind of the sweet spot. They move quickly, they go for asking price. They're still quality homes. I passed out the pictures to you guys, so you don't have to have custom home builder budget money size to still have a really quality home and stay under $200 a square foot if you can get your lot pricing and lot sizing down, is kind of what we've learned. So this is what the larger lots show us. I mean, there are definitely some big houses in McGregor, some big acreage, and let me find the right print off here. But basically, the days on market, there were none under 100 days on market, which is super, super old. Yeah, average is about 175 to 200. That's about the time it would take a brand new build to be built, and that's actual hammer time. So that's a significant amount of days on market, and that makes sense because you need one very specific buyer to be able to afford that home. We also have a real world example. So we are currently, I know this is not McGregor, this is Temple right down the road. It's Little River ISD, which is a very desirable school district comparable to McGregor. The developer for that area, all of the home sites start at a half acre. They are larger. We have some that are more than an acre. They're beautiful. We're doing side load. We've already had a couple of custom builders pull out because they can't get the sales price that they need for their builds. We have unfortunately had to lower our sales price just because people can't buy it right now. Interest rates are close to 7% in a lot of places. You saw the down payment required on Jeff's slides for those larger houses, and it's unfortunately not the market right now. We did have a community before COVID. I don't know if y'all were familiar, off of Spiegelville Road called Willow Grove. Those were half-acre home sites. And back then, before COVID, before pricing did what it did, even those weren't flying off the shelf. They moved slowly, and there were only about 24, 25, I think, lots in there. And it's, if you can do a small little pocket, which is even the homestead, it can work if the market can support. Right now, we are just not in a reality where people can do that. So this product would fill the gap. We could go down to 1,100 square feet. I'll be really honest, we don't really ever do that, especially in Central Texas. That's more in our College Station area, more college town for that. So realistically, we would likely start at about 1,600 square feet. We can get just over 2,000 square feet in a single family, single story home. We can go up to about 2,400, 2,500 in a 2-story. We do have some 3,000 square foot options as well if people really needed it. We have found that people don't really need it. So typically we leave those for the people who need it, who want it, and they will build it from the ground up. We don't put it into our inventory, meaning it's not sitting there available for someone to purchase. And we can do that for about $175 a square foot, puts you in the high 200s, mid 300s for most of our inventory. And here's just some pictures of it. So one of the things that I also looked at is our community. It's technically Lorena, it's Midway ISD, it's considered Waco, but it's Park Meadows right off of Ritchie Road if y'all are familiar over there. So one of the things, the sales perspective, just to, if that's helpful, we have to find a good sweet spot of our price points because people who work at SpaceX would just as easily live in the Hewitt side versus the McGregor side. So we have to make sure our pricing for what can be found in Hewitt makes sense for what can be found in McGregor as well. We don't want to lose people to other cities. We don't get new police cars if the tax dollars go to Woodway or Lorena. So just something to keep in mind. Spread matters. That's kind of all I had. So I will hand it back over to the experts.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Laura, but what you just described in terms of the product and the size of homes is essentially what your Stylecraft plans to build in Adeline Crossing. So there is on their website, plug for them, a complete list of all of the houses and house plans. Give you even a better idea than what was presented tonight. So going forward, what we came here tonight to do was explain our revised plan with the mix, the mix of different size home sites and hopefully show the correlation between what's the demand is in the marketplace, what it can support, what people are looking for. We would like to continue this collaboration with the City of McGregor, and we'd like to ask for your support going forward, with the understanding that we certainly hear the concerns, we share in them, we want to address them fully and give the opportunity to everyone to challenge us at every step of the way. We believe that we can get that accomplished. There's one other issue that hasn't come up, and that is the whole issue of off-site improvements to the city's sewer infrastructure, which is not an insignificant issue, which we also have to address. We like to think that we will be able to come up with a solution to that, either both long-term and, if necessary, an interim solution. So again, we ask for your support going forward, and thank you for your time tonight.
All right, thank you. Does council have any questions?
What was the original proposed number of houses from last month? It's 297 now. What did it reduce down, adding that R10?
It was, the conceptual plan last month was around the same number. The detention pond on this conceptual plan is smaller than the other, so it's about the same. But again, this is conceptual. It's not been engineered yet.
There's also a reduction in the commercial set aside in order to have more for 10,000 square foot lots.
Anyone?
107.
And y'all are just starting to build.
Yeah, they should begin construction in August on those. The takedown schedule, what's been conveyed to us, is about 14 to 20 houses a quarter, depending on sales. So it'll take a little while for that subdivision to be completely built out. This conceptual plan, best case scenario would be delivery possibly Q4 of 27, but more likely first quarter of 28. And again, we're still limited on wastewater if they build there. So delivery also depends on the availability of us being able to put that stuff somewhere.
Definitely has to go somewhere.
It has to go somewhere.
All right. Well, if there are no further questions, I will entertain a motion. Going twice? 3 times. Okay. My apologies, that died without a motion. We'll have to move on to item number 10. Discussion and possible action regarding an appointment to the McLennan County Rural District Board to complete the remainder of Stephen Dushman's term ending in May of 2026. Kevin, is there any way we can leave Stephen on there?
No, not for this group. Maybe somebody from council.
Okay. Well, do we have any volunteers? You'll do it? Okay, well, Sherry is. Okay, we have a motion. And a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. You're not gonna get any nays out of that one. Okay, item number 11, discussion and possible action regarding ordinance O-12-2025, an ordinance of the City of McGregor, Texas, amending section 15-11B in chapter 15, cemeteries, to the Code of Ordinances to authorize the use of lava rock, repealing all conflicting ordinances, providing a severability clause, and providing an effective date.
Hello. So Renee sits on our Community Services Board. Unfortunately, she's not here tonight, but I can go over our last meeting and why this has come up. We did our spring cleanup in May, and in that spring cleanup, trying to get back to everybody abiding by our ordinance, which has been in place since 2014, our biggest issue was the use of lava rock. Our ordinance does not allow lava rock at all. However, we do have a handful of plots that have a concrete ribbon around them with lava rock inside. We received feedback from the individuals who have family members placed in those spaces that was slightly hostile about making changes to lava rock. I did ask the individual if they might want to come and talk to the board meeting. For the Community Services Board, I do believe they reached out to Renee individually versus coming to that meeting. They were not present, but she did present at the meeting that the objections were that they wanted to be able to keep the lava rock in place, and were very unhappy that if we were going to remove it, that they were going to fight, which is not an issue. It's absolutely within their right to do. So the board discussed it. I presented them with some options of what it would look like if we did keep it, what it would look like if we didn't. And the general consensus of that board was that if we opt to allow the ones that are there and people to do it in the future, it had to be within kind of some general rules. And the general rule was a way to be contained so they don't become projectile hazards with lawnmowers and weed eaters. So that was where the concrete ribbon is required in order to put that lava rock in, that it must be, level with the ground, and then all the rock be contained completely, not piled up over the top. The board seemed to find that very amenable, as well as the Parks Department who maintains the cemetery. Keep in mind, we've had a lot of rain, so nothing is very well maintained right now. But the board was on the idea that this would alleviate everybody, easiest as far as maintenance and being able to spray those areas so we don't have to mow or weed eat over the top of the lava rock, which of course is not an option, as well as with the complaints that came in from the residents who do have those on their family plots. So this was our meeting in the middle of making everybody happy, and it turned out that it'll actually do very well if we are able to add just that adjustment to the existing ordinance.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Cassie?
In the concrete border is there any specific requirement on dimensions?
So that is already pre-done in the ordinance itself. So if you're wanting to do a concrete border, that is existing. So this would just state that if you wanted the lava rock, you have to go by those rules that are already set within there. Yes, sir.
All right. Any others? I'll entertain a motion by ordinance number.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 0-12-2025.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. We have a motion and a second.
No, that was
Alfredo. All right, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay? That motion carries. Item 12, discussion and possible action regarding resolution R-12-2025, a resolution authorizing continued participation with the steering committee of cities served by Encore and authorizing the payment of 11 cents per capita to the steering committee to fund regulatory and legal proceedings and activities related to Encore Electric Delivery Company, LLC.
Council, you may recall just a month or two ago, we did the same thing with Atmos Energy. This group of cities, both group of cities are almost identical. Have been around for quite a while. We've kind of ridden on their coattails without participating, but we now have also an Encore rate increase that's been dropped on my desk. I got rid of it as fast as I could. I think Angela's got it in her office if you want to look at it. It's a couple of inches thick. And this group also advises and intercedes on those proceedings on our behalf as well. So I would suggest that we go ahead and join them up for Encore as well as Atmos. And you have a right as a city to challenge these rate increases on your own. It can get very expensive. ever since I've been in this business, cities have joined, used to through Texas Municipal League, but with the new way that electricity in particular is done in this state, organizations like this exist for each kind of utility. And so I would suggest that we get on board and get their help with this rate increase that's been filed, rate increase request that's been filed. $657.69.
All right. Do anybody have any questions for Kevin? I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion we approve resolution R-12-2025.
Yes. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second. Oh, sorry.
Oh. All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. That motion carries. Item 13, discussion and possible action regarding resolution R-13-2025, a resolution of the City Council of McGregor, Texas, authorizing the city manager to sign an interlocal governmental agreement by and between the City of McGregor, Texas, and the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles relating to motor vehicle registration refusal pursuant to Section 702.003 of the Texas Transportation Code.
This one's on Angela.
So, at this time, we already report to Omnibase on tickets that are not paid, warrant status, and it places a hold on the driver license. This scofflaw would be with in conjunction with our line barber collection agency. They would take this on once we have it signed, and it places a hold on the vehicle registration. So the verbiage was already printed on our new ticket writers, the citations that come out, we just didn't have a way to enforce it, but it's already there, we won't have to do anything. Doesn't cost us anything else. It's included in the 30% that line barber passes on to the violator to pay.
So this is in addition
To the driver's license. So we have the driver's license already in place, now this will hold the registration.
So when you have these Aggies that live in Crawford get tickets in your town, it's okay, I'm getting on this.
Well, I know, but you were,
My fault.
you're putting down Aggie.
No, ma'am, just that one.
Well,
Just the ones in Crawford.
okay, as long as we know.
All right. Any questions about this? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion by resolution number.
I make a motion we approve resolution R-13-2025.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. That motion carries. Item number 14, receive financials as of May 31st, 2025.
I mean, Carolyn's not gonna do this, it's her last.
Do you want to?
No. I didn't want to cry. So I told Lee to do it. I mean, you don't have to do it, you at least have to come to the podium for last time.
Okay, come on, Lee.
Lee can do it, but
I didn't know if I could get through it
I
tonight.
just wanted to see your sweet face at the podium.
Oh, thank you, Bob.
They've never seen you say no.
Oh, yeah, never. Only when you want to buy something, otherwise it's always yes.
Well, thank you for y'all's time. I'll go ahead and I'll try to make it brief, but we'll go through and we'll cover everything. So this is for the month of May. May represents 66.67%, 2/3 of the fiscal year. We can see just sort of the bigger funds that we have here. sort of the actual as compared to budget. Looks fairly well on track. General fund is at 77.9% revenues, 59% expenses. Utility fund, 78% of revenues and 53.9% of expenses. The exchange event centers, 49.3% of revenues and 67.6% of expenses. We'll go into that a little bit more whenever we compare the exchange this year to the exchange last year. As the important number is the expenses, and I would say we're hitting that fairly accurately, the 66.67% benchmark versus the 67.6% in expenses. And then going down, the airport is at 56% of revenues and 41.6% of expenses. Okay. Next slide, please. Yes. Okay. The general fund net cash flow is $900,600 higher than the previous years. Revenues are up $1.3 million. Expenditures are down $417,700 compared to the same period last year. We've seen the increase in revenue expenses the last time. Ad valorem taxes in total have increased as budgeted by $257,000. And there was a budgeted transfer of $1 million from the McGregor Industrial Park for the sale of land. The expenditure increases compared to last year are primarily due to a contractual payment to the Waco Industrial Foundation of almost $300,000, with the remainder of that increase just relating to budgeted increases in personnel services, other items. The utility fund net cash flow is $870,500 higher than the previous year. Revenue is up $506,300. Expenditures are down $364,200 compared to, that should be May of 2024, my apologies. The revenue increase relates to an increase in water use and receipt of insurance funds. And the expenditure decreases are primarily due to a decrease in debt service expenses and a decrease in the timing of capital expenditures, just a timing issue, offset by an increase in personnel costs as budgeted. For the exchange, we can look and see how much better we are this year than we were last year. The net cash flows are up $43,800 compared to the same period. Revenues are up $10,400. Expenses are down $33,500. A lot of the decrease in expenses has to do with the one-time eclipse viewing back in 2024. Their expenses of roughly $14,600, and the rest of the difference in expenses just relates to timing differences. For the airport, net cash flows are down 86.8% compared to the same period. Revenues are down $22,200. Expenses are up $64,500. The decrease in revenues relates primarily to the timing of grant receipts in the prior year for a grant runway project of $46,400. The increase in expenditures relates primarily to budgeted increases in personnel costs and costs of the terminal rehab projects, offset by a decrease in budgeted capital expenditures. So what this shows on y'all's printouts is just every fund going through what we just discussed with the four larger ones. Next slide, please. And this one shows our just cash position as of May, which we'll go into a little bit more detail in the next slide. So we'll see that net cash in the bank is $7.7 million less than in the same period last year, which is to be expected. Operating accounts are down $1.5 million. Pooled cash is down $3.7 million. Grants are down $761,000, and capital projects are down $848,000 as compared to the same period last year. And then lastly, there's a sales tax chart. You can see our positive trend line. We are still watching very closely fiscal year 25, and just trying to figure out, of course, a lot of it's confidential, but we're trying to figure out kind kind of what's driving that change, what, for forecasting purposes, look forward into the next year with the budget. Just, making sure that everything is good there. And I believe that is it, but thank y'all so much again for y'all's time. Do y'all have any questions, or? All right.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank y'all.
And Carolyn.
Thank you. Thank y'all very much.
All right, item 15, we're going to go into closed meeting at 7:38. Closed meeting pursuant to Chapter 551 Texas Government Code in accordance with the authority contained in Section 551.071 Legal and Section 551.087 Economic Developments. Legal under Texas Government Code Section 551.071 and Rule 1.05 Professional Rules of Conduct Discussion with attorney or confidential matters. Economic Development under Texas Governmental Code Section 551.087. Discussion regarding economic development negotiations, including commercial or financial information received from a business prospect seeking to locate, stay, or expand in or near the city of McGregor, and to discuss economic development negotiations and or to deliberate the offer of a financial or other incentive to a business prospect. So let's go. That's what, that wasn't enough?
It was too much.
It's 8:26. We're gonna go ahead and come back into open session. Item 16 on the agenda, announcements from the city manager. And he's not out here. Item 17, request comments from mayor and/or council members. And item 18, adjourn at 8:26.